Old soul, young world.
Old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jesse Ellie. Hey! Guys, it is lit this week. It is poppin'. We have a podcast host, a social media entrepreneur, somebody who's working at a local dispensary in Chelsea, shout out Western Front, and doing so much more with his own Messy Room podcast. Welcome to the show, Vic Rodriguez.
Woo.
What's poppin'?
Oh man, thank you. That's an amazing intro.
Yo, intros are important, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you literally hyped me up. I just want to jump around
Hey!
now.
Yo, A's like my quote, so if you want to scream with me, like,
Oh yeah. Hey!
But it's funny because I had seen one of the videos you posted on Instagram. It was like a clip from one of your podcasts, and you were talking about how hard you worked on that intro and how important the intros are. And I was like, well, I gotta fucking kill my intro then.
Thank you. Yeah, I literally like. That's probably the hardest thing I work for is those intros. I be screaming, yelling, like trying to hype the guest up because like I feel like once you hype the guest up, it's like, oh, they're just themselves. They're just chilling, having fun.
But like if you do like a weak intro, like your guest is just like, nah, like they're like, oh, what up? And it's like, nah, I need that energy.
Exactly. So it's kind of like you gotta like, it's like you gotta show them love, like you know what I mean, like, and then they just like go crazy. Like,
and when we talked on the phone too, we were like, oh, it's gonna be lit because we're both podcast hosts, so we're down to talk.
I'm telling you. So I had on the Messy Room, I literally had the Real Relate Boys. I don't know if you know them. Real Relate Boys. And it was like the funnest podcast because like they're podcast hosts too.
See?
So they kind of understand. Like,
exactly.
So it's literally going to be an amazing one. An amazing one, ladies and gentlemen.
An amazing one. Tune in.
On God.
But you know, Vic, I'm going to give you the chance to just let people know because, you know, I don't even know. Me and Vic had met each other one time at a cannabis event in Western Front. It was, I believe...
420.
Who was performing? It was
Michael
on 420.
Christmas.
Michael Christmas was performing, 420. Went up to Vic. I was like, yo, blah, blah. I saw he was doing camera stuff, wanted to get in touch. So we just stay in touch. But honestly, I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know where you're from, what you do. So let's get into it.
I don't even know. That's like a loaded question. I mean, so like, my name is Vic Rodriguez from Chelsea, Mass. 02150.
Hey,
born and raised. Shout out to Chelsea. You know what I mean? Born and raised. I kind of just like, you know, your friendly neighborhood podcaster, like literally like I've always just like wanted to be in media, always wanted to be in front of the camera. Yes. I kind of just like one day like I was going delusional and on Milk Street and in downtown. I was kind of like, man, I need to change my life because at the time like I was working in finance, so it was kind of like I felt like so the world was telling me like my mom, like my parents, like you know what I mean, like my cousins, like everybody around me was telling me like, oh bro, you're killing the game, like you're in a suit, bro, you're working at a bank, you're doing accounting, and in my head I was like, bro, this is terrible.
This is not it.
Yeah, this is delusional. Like, you know what I mean? So then like in my whole life, I was like, man, I want to get in front of a camera. I want to talk. And then I got like super hip to like podcasting. And I was like in love with like Joe Rogan's, the Joey Diaz's.
Joe Rogan's the man.
The GOAT. The GOAT. Yeah, literally. So
mentor.
Like, exactly. Like, bro, I could talk about Joe Rogan for 45 minutes. But like, it's just like, you know, so then all of a sudden, like one day, like I had a rough day like in the bank. Like the market was just crazy. So I kind of was like literally looking delusional. I was on Milk Street downtown. Like, never forget this day. And I'm just screaming to myself, like, yo, what the fuck am I doing? Like, bro, like, I gotta be chasing my dreams. Like, bro, I remember, and I was like, yo, I remember, like, Vic, like, I was talking to myself, like, Vic, I remember you saying, like, you wanted to be this TV guy, but you're over here, like, in a suit. Like, what are you doing? Like, so it was just like, so I went through that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then,
we all have to have that moment of self-realization, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, we all have that. And actually, I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, but it's like, you live two lives. The first life, when you're born, and the second life, when you're reborn with your purpose, and you realize that there's, like, something else to this. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that was amazing. That was really amazing. I feel like you was reborn
with your podcast.
Exactly. So, like, that literally was amazing. Like, I might rewatch this.
That's
and
a
like,
little gem right there.
Yeah, literally rewatch this and hear that again. Like, that shit was amazing. So it was literally like I came to that realization. I was like screaming at myself, like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I was just like, I take it like it was like my lowest point, like almost, you know what I mean? Where I'm kind of like vulnerable, like people are looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? And I'm just like, fuck. And then I was just like, yo, you know what? Started planning it out in my head, like, all right, I want to do like a show. I love podcasts, like, fuck it. Like, let's do a podcast. Let's research this shit, Vic. Like, yo, do all this shit. And then I was just like, for some reason, I was like, yo, I want to talk to someone, obviously. Like, it's a podcast. I want to have a conversation. Yeah. So who the fuck am I going to talk to? And for some reason, like, one of my best friends, like, Jason came to my head. And I was just like... Shout out to Jason. Yo, Jason, I love you, bro. So it was literally like, oh, man. And then I just texted him like, yo, bro, like, you down to do a podcast? And he just said, yes. And it like...
That's it.
I'm telling you, it's like I won.
Confirmation.
Yeah, it's like I hit a grand slam at Fenway. Like I was cheering, jumping around, like let's fucking go. And then we just started on this journey, like, and it's been fucking awesome. Like,
so when, sorry to interrupt you, but when exactly did this journey like begin for you? How many years ago or months ago was that?
2019, around like April is when the idea started twisting and turning. Like when it started getting hot, and then we started in May. Like
okay.
Memorial Day weekend, we bought the mics, and then like the next week we just literally started.
So y'all just jumped into it,
figuring it out. Yeah, like the first meeting we ever had, we were just standing at each other like, "All right, man, like, what do we got to do?" Like, and then we just kept going, and then we had our family on. We literally had our first guest ever was Jason's little brother. Like, we literally just started just going with our friends, family, all this stuff, and then we kind of just started growing the network, and then. Getting like, and then the pinnacle like point, like where I started seeing things shifting because we were doing it week in, week out, was shout out to Luke Bars. Luke answered, shout out to Luke, yeah. So Luke from Van Buren, he answered, so I got hip to him through Michael Christmas, funny. So Michael Christmas
everything works in like a synchronization. Yeah, literally. Like, that you don't even realize till it comes to be and you're like, oh shit, all that was connected.
So I was a big fan of Michael Christmas, and then Luke was featured on his album. Hiding was the album 2020. So then I was like, oh shit. So then it kind of just like so when Luke answered the email and was like, I'm down, it was like, oh, we could literally have cool ass people on the show. Like, oh, this is like literally a possibility.
Facts.
Like, not that everyone else wasn't cool. Like, I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
just an example.
Like someone that's like more known, like, you know what I mean? So it was like, oh shit. So then we really kicked it into gear, and we just really tried. Like, and it was just like, oh man. And the more I did it, and the more me and Jason did it, the group, the bigger like our bond grew, and then like just the more I kept falling in love with it. And then at the time, I was still working at the bank, so it was like I was living this duality that you were talking about.
2 different lives.
Literally, like I was doing accounting during the day, heated, getting tight, and then it would just be like, all right.
Like now, a release, like an outlet type.
Yeah, so I would do the podcast and I would feel like amazing, but then I'd be like, fuck,
I gotta
wake
real life.
up. Yeah, so then that's when I realized I gotta leave. So and then this is where the dispensary comes in. So then.
Wait, can I hit on one thing that you said? I just want to point out because, starting a podcast, we both love Joe Rogan. So there is no blueprint for how you're supposed to do it. Like Joe Rogan literally created a platform that became so big that when people got offended and stopped, like they wanted to kick him off Spotify knew that they couldn't kick Joe Rogan off because he's bringing their income in. He created a blueprint so big that he created like his own podcasting network. But from the very start, it's like nobody hands you a book and is like, this is how to podcast. This is what you should do. This is how you get guests on. This is how you make it a business.
Exactly.
So it's like funny. I just relate to you saying like your first guest was your best friend's little brother. Like my first guest, like literally my best friends, my sister came on one of my first episodes. People from college who I hadn't talked to for a while. I just like messaged them, DM them on Instagram. I was like, yo, you interested in coming off and like showing that you sing or showing that whatever it is. But it's like a lot of people who are getting into the podcast industry because it's so up and coming, just like the cannabis industry.
Because of 2020, like
because
I feel
of
like
2020,
the pandemic expand, like it blew it up, like it was like crazy.
It made people realize, like, okay, I can actually do this from my house, myself, without like a whole production team, like without all this shit. And like, I started in similar circumstances, so I just want to relate because a lot of people don't understand. You really have to just figure it the fuck out on your way.
Exactly. So then it was kind of like a thing where like. So now I find, so it took a lot though. It took a lot because I was literally like, I'm literally going delusional, ladies and gentlemen.
Doesn't it make you crazy?
Like I'm telling you, I would literally be like, nah, like I can't leave the bank because I got a career, but it was like I was just saying stuff to myself, like, and it was like I feel like it was just like the way society thinks. It was still like implanted in me. But it was the family influence
too, because like you said, like, oh, you have a suit and tie, you have a business type job, then okay, you're good, like you're doing good. Because I was the same thing, like I still work a fucking 7 to 3 job. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
like,
man, and you hate it, right?
Yes, like, dude, I want to do this full time, obviously, but it's that balance of like the financial aspect versus the dreams. And then figuring out as an individual, like, okay, how do I make this work for me?
Yeah, so so like I feel like blessed almost because like the dispensary is literally like shout out to Western Front. They've literally
shout out Western Front.
Yeah, they've literally like blessed me. So like long story short, like so I figured out that like I'm literally wilding, like trying to stay in this bank job. So I'm like, all right, I gotta literally like find something. So I just started hitting my network. So like I just started like talking to like my old mentors and things like that. So then he's a city councilor in Chelsea. Leo Robinson. In Chelsea, he's like a legend. He's like this guy. So I know him personally because I worked in inspectional services in Chelsea. Like I was an intern.
Okay.
So I kind of like seen him all the time. Like he was like a city official kind of guy. So I just kind of hit him up and I was like, Leo, like I'm kind of like, I feel, like stagnant. I feel kind of like stuck in my job. Like I was wondering if like, you know anything that like, and he was like, oh, bro, one of my buddies opened a dispensary. And I was like,
yo, what?
I was like, yeah, man. Like
Were
I
you
was
even
like
expecting that? Like,
no,
did you?
like because he's such a city official. Like I was thinking like a desk job or like a secretary or something. But then he said, oh, a dispensary, and I was kind of like, bro, and I was kind of looking to like branch out of the banking because I knew I just didn't like it. So I was like, bro, I might just go to this interview and just see what's up.
Yeah.
So then it kind of like, so Dennis, shout out to Dennis. He's the CEO of our company. He's also the owner. I kind of just sat there. Shout out to Dennis. Yeah. So I kind of just sat there like in the interview and I was kind of like not knowing what to expect. And then he kind of was just like, oh, we're a Black Latino owned business and all these things. And it was like all the things that I was kind of like hating on the bank. Like, oh man, I feel like so corporate. I feel like I betrayed my people, like all this stuff. So then when he's saying like, oh, we're a Black Latino owned business, we want to operate professionally, but with people that look like us, like people of color, all this stuff. So I was kind of like, whoa, like I'm changing the world. Like, yo, I was like, Dennis, I want to be part of this. Like, let me be part of this journey.
Yes.
Yeah. So then it was awesome. So I started off like just like regular like bud tender or whatever, like just on the register and shit like that, like inventory, just moving the weed around. And then it just kind of like, it kind of just fucked with me. And they were just like, oh, yo, they like searched me up. Like she was like, oh, Cassandra, my manager, she was like, oh, you got a podcast? I was like, yeah. She's like, we kind of want to start like media and doing all these things. And I was kind of like, well, I might just be your guy, right? So then it just came to be. And then blessed.
Quick question for you. Before all of this, like before the banking, before cannabis, all that, did you have like media training in any sort besides the podcast, like video wise, editing wise? Did you fuck around? Like, were you in music? Like, I don't know.
Not at all.
Nothing.
Like, I had no editing experience, no production, no, like, I just love watching like movies and loved like watching comedians. Like, I want to be a comedian one day, like all this stuff. I literally write jokes and stuff. So I just studied that in that way. Like, I was always just a big fan.
Yeah.
So then when I kind of like got into the podcast, I didn't really like, I feel like my first podcast ever, now I'm just talking like myself, but before it was like, hello, where, you know, like it was just so still and so like just gross.
Yo, I was literally my first couple like reading a script. Like I had written everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah. And I was like going line by line. And then I was like, yo, this is not what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. You're trying to just be like your true, genuine self.
And that's that blueprint part where it's like, okay, you have to figure out what works. You have to fail. You have to succeed.
Exactly.
You know, like.
So like, I love the first episode of the podcast, but I'll probably never listen to that again because it's just so cringy. Like it just doesn't sound like me.
Trust me.
Like, so yeah, so I literally had no experience. So throughout doing the podcast, I was learning day in and day out, learning just like, oh, what's a good question? Or, oh, like, how do you edit this? Or how do you produce this? Or like, I got this cool idea in my head, but I don't know how to do it. So like, how do I figure it out? Like so many YouTube videos asking, you know, Jason so many questions, just asking my like network so many questions. It's just like, you just learn as you go. And I was just like, I'm going to figure it out because I found what I want to do. So now, you know, I got to just learn it. Yeah. And that's like been my thing. So then when the Western Front like sat me in that room that day in the conference room and just told me like, yeah, we want you to be this media guy. We want you to run our social media. We love your energy and all this shit. I was kind of like, bro, like, it was like kind of like my I made it moment kind of thing. Cause like that's why I feel like I'm kind of blessed. Cause like I literally edit videos. Like I'm always on social media. Like I don't get in trouble for being on Instagram because that's literally my job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always on a mic, like just, you know, whether like, you know, testing it or production or whatever it is, like I'm always just doing it. So I feel like super blessed to just be able to do what I love. And then like, that's why like I love the Western Front till the end. Cause like they literally gave me this opportunity to just be myself 24/7.
I just want to highlight because it's so dope because when you start telling your story, like you literally started off with like having a mental breakdown, like walking down I think you said Milk Street, right?
Yeah.
Walking down Milk Street, having a mental breakdown. Like I'm picturing like very similar to you when I was getting in the mindset of wanting to start my podcast. Mm-hmm. I was down, yo. I was losing my mind. I was working at an executive job. I worked at Macy's executive corporate office.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
You already know. I was in retail. I was doing like HR shit. I was working like holidays, weekends, like 9 to 6. Like it was like miserable. I was depressed as shit. So I was at that point where I was like having that mental breakdown. But it's sometimes like shit like that is kind of crazy because when you look back, you're like, wow.
You just laugh,
if I didn't go through that, if I didn't like like have that crazy moment where I looked like a crazy psycho on the street, people staring at me like wondering what's going on, to now just taking that risk, taking that chance. And I didn't even know you didn't have like previous media experience. So you took even a bigger jump in risk with your career to start something new. And it's like, even though you didn't know it at the time, it all led to where it was supposed to be.
Exactly. So it was kind of like a thing, like, I was always like unsure. Like, obviously you just don't know what the future holds for you. But
Facts.
like when I heard like, oh, dispensary, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm in banking, but fuck it, let's take this leap. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, like, I kind of, I don't want to be like working on the register for the rest of my life. Like, so do I stay? Do I kind of like, go back to banking? Like, what do I do? All of a sudden, like, oh man, like they want to do this media shit. Like, oh shit. Like, so I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. Like, and it's just like cool. And every day, like, I just, like, like when you leave work, like, and you're just like, fuck, like, finally it's over.
Yes.
I literally leave work and I don't want to leave. Like, I'd be like talking to everybody, like just having a great time.
Dope. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just super cool. And then to just be able to have like these two shows, the Messy Room podcast and, the Good Grass show, just like two different dynamics. So I feel like I'm just growing as an interviewer, podcaster, where like, it's like two different styles. Like, I feel like I'm just like, I also feel like I'm in school, like just growing as a person and like gaining experience.
So do you feel like personally from like you moving to the dispensary and being given this opportunity, like it's kind of inspired you to want to like learn more or become more prior to when you were at the bank and it was like, you just knew you were going to be like stuck there kind of like you said, stagnant. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it was literally like a thing where it's kind of like, I felt like I plateaued. So I wanted to like get a raise, but they were kind of being weird. Oh, we're in a pandemic. So we only could guarantee your job, but we can't move you up. And I'm kind of like,
dude, that's
I want to learn this. Like, what do you mean? Like, so they're kind of just being weird. And I'm just like, man, like whatever. So then it kind of went to this thing where I was like, all right. So now I feel like I'm learning every day. And like, I feel like when, let me just collect my words. It's kind of like a thing where like, I'm trying to say this like right. It's kind of like, all right, you feel like, I felt like I was moving in the bank, right? I was making like money and all this shit, but I felt like my tires were just stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm on the highway just going.
Well, because I think it's kind of back to that purpose thing, right? Like you were physically doing what you had to do.
Yeah.
You were financially doing what you had to do, but like inside there was clearly something deeper within you that had like a creative, motivational, just like internal like signal where your internal clock was like, yo, but this ain't it.
Yeah.
Like this ain't it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So even though you didn't know what it was, there was something already intuitively telling you like, but there's more than this at least.
Yeah.
You know?
And like to go back to like the idea that like I just like you don't know what the future holds for you.
Facts.
It kind of like working in dispensary and things like that always just felt right. Always just felt like I feel like I'm in the right place. All right, I'm here. Like, oh yeah, we ready. Oh, today's a good day. All right, now we're just chilling. Like literally, like it's just been such a like crazy experience because I went from like working at a bank to interviewing people like Montell Williams and like Millyz. Like it's just like it blows my mind.
We gotta get into that. So hold up. Can you so when did the Good Grass show actually start?
Okay.
And what is the purpose of the Good Grass podcast?
Okay, so the Good Grass is pretty much like the Western Front was trying to find a way where they're hip, they're cool, and they wanted to like have their voice out there. They want to be like this brand. They're very like prideful in their brand. So it was kind of like, all right, like they pieced it together where they're like, oh wait, we got Vic as the media guy. So then I went into the chamber like, all right, how do I promote cannabis? How do I promote weed? Like, how do I just do this? And like, I kind of took like Hot Ones, like they promote like food and Fresh Sweet Feast is like an amazing channel. I thought of it like that. I was like, bro, weed is like full circle. So it's kind of like our goal is to talk about the industry, talk about like what's happening, talk about just like everything that's weed, like, you know what I mean? Like cannabis, like edibles, whatever the fuck we're talking about, and just talk about how like the industry's moving. We want to talk about that. We want to just like, it's just ever evolving. So I'm thinking of doing stuff like pranks, like do like smoke sessions, like stuff like that, just like because I feel like weed is just like a ever like it's like an ever revolving thing, and it's growing too. It's so new that like people like are just like not knowledgeable or just like unaware. So like we're trying to like teach people and like learn, like give people like knowledge on like oh, like you might not want to smoke it, but like there's edibles. Like, oh, you might not want to have an edible, but there's like a tincture.
Because there's such a lack of education on cannabis. Like still there's like a huge stigma, and we're trying to still in states decriminalize it. There's still people in jail because of it. And like you said, it's like I actually have arthritis already. Like I suffer from arthritis very young, and I never got, I was offered like cortisone shots, different medications for it, and I'm actually a cannabis user. Like out of all those options as not what I wanted. I've used cannabis for like over a decade in different ways, and actually recently, because of the pain I've been having, and I'm a smoker more so, that's how I consume. I've been looking into like tinctures and CBD and different type of muscle relaxants, because I'm like, okay, I smoke for like, you know, stress and like the pain that it gives me and stuff like that. But then there's like a deeper part of it where it's a medical aspect. Do you know what I mean? And people don't understand the knowledge of the medical aspect. So like the fact that y'all can incorporate the knowledge in with like the fun of it and just like messing around. Cause like, yo, I be watching the clips you put on Instagram. I just be cracking up. Like it'll be like these short, yo, wait, I have to call you out though. Like that handshake with Montell Williams. Yo, can we just reenact it? This is fake. He like goes to shake.
He's like,
and then they just like do a quick grab and like he takes his hand back. Oh my God. That shit had me dying. So it's like.
That had to be like so I'm like over here like, all right, I studied for this dude for weeks. And then,
Did you like study up on him, everything?
I probably watched like 97 fucking videos. I was just on YouTube, just studying him like crazy, watching like full-fledged Montell, like the Montell Williams show, like episodes, just watching like everything about him. So I kind of knew like where, like I watched interviews with him, so I kind of knew what to say, like to get him triggered and start yelling and stuff. So it was like this whole thing. But then when he didn't shake my hand, all that shit went out the window, and I was like, and I literally didn't know what to say. Like, oh my God, I was like nervous because it was just such a like I was like, and it just fucked me all up. Yeah, that was fucking delusional.
And that's too like a part about like the learning experience though, because like a lot of people don't understand that hosting a podcast or doing a podcast in general, it's like a lot of shit. There's a lot of behind the scenes. There's a lot of research. There's like, I get anxious every time I record. Like before we started, I was nervous. I was like, yo, I get nervous every goddamn time that I turn the camera on.
I tell you, I literally, so I interviewed one of my managers, and he's cool as hell. Shout out to Steve, like he's cool. But like, so Steve, I was like, Steve, I won't lie to you, like, I get nervous for every single one of these.
Every single one.
He was like, why are you telling me that? I'm nervous. And I was like, bro, because it's literally like, you don't understand. Like, you prepare for this so much, you just want it to go well.
Yes.
And then, like, you don't want to have a guest where, like, they're kind of like, you ask them a question, they're kind of like.
low energy,
yeah,
or like a one-word answer, and you're like, bro.
And you kind of just got to, like.
build off that.
Like, almost like picking their teeth, like, oh, like, please, like, you know, answer, like, give me, like, yeah.
I feel that.
So, like, in your head, you're just like, oh, man, this is terrible. And you're also, like, as a podcast host, you're kind of thinking of, like, the cameras, the lights, like, where everything's placed. So like when someone's kind of like fucked off and being weird, you're kind of like, oh man, like you're so stressed, and that's what I'm saying. Like people just don't understand it. So I'm glad, like I'm so happy, like I have someone that understands, like
100%,
like the like anxiety part.
Dude,
of
I'm not even lying. Like every single week when I record, like my palms are sweating.
Yeah.
Like I just pretend. I psych myself. Like I'm like, oh, you're good, but like I'm not. And then I am when the camera comes on. But it's like.
Well, I'm sorry. I was gonna say when we were off camera, I was literally like jumping up. Like you see me dancing,
dancing, like getting it.
That's what I'm saying, because that's like the rituals. You just gotta like. I was like, bro, I can't sit here like and just like wait patiently. Like it's so like I'm just like, all right, we gotta just get rolling. So it was just it's just like.
Well, and then on top of that too, and I'm wondering like kind of how your transition was, but I feel like. The Messy Room podcast is so chill, laid back. Like literally, guys, when we're talking about Messy Room podcast, I'll let you tell a story. But like from what I had seen, it was like, I legit have a messy room. I don't give a fuck. So we're going to be casual. We're going to do our podcast in my messy room.
Yeah.
And we're going to build off that. Like life's messy. Things are everywhere. People are everywhere. So like, it's just kind of fitting for like any type of conversation.
Exactly.
Which is very casual and laid back, opposed to like you said, when you're scheduling Montell Williams, who's a television host for like decades of his life. And then you're researching and all this stuff. It's very more like scheduled and planned out. Like how was that for you as like just your personality translating it?
I feel like I felt like I had to be more collected. I felt like if I researched more, the more I researched Montell, the more comfortable I got just with the idea of talking to him. But it's still like That was the first interview. That was the first thing I ever did.
That was the very first interview?
The first thing I ever did for the Good Grass Show. So we were planning the Good Grass Show. I was like planning what I was going to do, like planning what I was going to say, planning like the style interview we were going to have, talk about like, you know, bringing up topics of what we were going to bring up. And then like one day they bring me into the office. They're like, oh, you know, we're going to have you interview Montell Williams. And I was like, what?
Shit, I would have been like, what? If my producer said it to me, I would have been like, bro, nah. And then, I don't know if I can do it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I went, what do you mean? I'm going to interview him? Like, what? Like, and that was like the first thing. So it was like, what the fuck? So that was going to be the first interview for the Good Grass Show. And obviously you want the Good Grass Show to be cool. And
right.
You want
and
it to
that's
be
part
hip.
of your job too. So it's like, all right, this is my responsibility.
Yeah.
Like,
and I also don't want to get fired for asking them a dumb question. So it was like so stressful. Like I felt like, but at the end of that day, like, I literally didn't even know what to think. I was just like, oh man, I fucked up here. And then watching it back, I was like, oh, we did all right. It was pretty smooth. Like I was like, all right, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was, but Montell was like, honestly, he's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met in my life. Like off camera, I was just telling him like, you know, I appreciate you. You know, you're literally the guy. Like you were doing what like I want to do since I was a little kid. Like I've always wanted to be like a TV host, like Jimmy Fallon, David Letterman, Jay Leno, all these like cool guys, you know, Jimmy Kimmel, George Lopez, all these dudes.
Facts.
So it was just like this thing where like Montell, like I had to tell him.
It was like that degree of separation. It's like, wow, you're seeing somebody who you've like seen on TV that has been in the steps that you want to do, and like they're in front of you, sitting down doing an interview with you.
Yeah, and he does it at the highest level. So I was just like, bro, I hope I did you justice. Like, you know, and is there any advice you could give me? And he was kind of just like, listen, man, it doesn't matter how many questions you write. It doesn't matter how prepared you are. It matters about it matters about the mic, and it matters about, you know, the camera, what people feel and what people say. Like people are going to know like the bullshit, like pretty much like the bullshit that you're saying. Like, so like if let's say like I ask a question and like you feel like the guest is like, he really wants to talk, or like he's really engaging in this conversation. It's kind of like, he's kind of like, all right, he was telling me like, don't just be like, all right, check, next question. Let it engage with that question, because clearly they want to like talk about that, or like, and then you might have the opportunity to ask like a question that's never been asked before.
I'm sorry to just interrupt you, but like,
nah, you're cool.
That is a key. And like, I spoke at this, it was like a youth apprenticeship program for social media, like people starting podcasts.
I actually seen that. This thing was on the screen, and you were showing like different versions of it, right? Yeah.
So there's this girl in the program, and she's you know, young, and she's starting her own podcast, and it's she's a Latina, so it's like a Latina music-based podcast. And she was so dope, but you know, and shout you out if you're listening in, like, you know who you are. A little insecure about her question asking, and just wondering like, okay, so this is my list, and she had like 50 questions written, and I'm like, trust me, you are not gonna get through all those questions.
Literally
right now, I have a whole notes right here, all these things about Vic, all this stuff. I haven't even looked over here. I think I looked over once to like ask you a question, but it's like, it's true, because when you're podcasting, when you're in social media, and anyone listening in, like if you're genuinely having a conversation with someone, I think that's the key, like genuine. So I told this girl, I'm like, when you're asking questions, don't ask so that you're asking to get an answer to go to the next question.
Yeah.
You're asking and you're listening to their response so that you can respond. You're not listening to their response. So, okay, question number 3 now. Question number 4 now.
Yeah,
no, because like you said, it leads into like things that nobody's ever said before.
Exactly. And then like you'll have cool, like I'm telling you, when someone's being their genuine self on camera, whether it be like Montell Williams, whether it be, you know, my boy Marvin, or whoever the fuck, you know what I mean? It's just like when you get to this genuine level where we're just chopping it up or whatever, it's cool. Like, oh man, I never noticed, you know, Jessie was this cool fly girl, you know what I mean? Oh, I never noticed Vic was cool. Like, like, and then you just like, as a viewer at least, like that's why like I love Joe Rogan, because like you'll have people like Joey Diaz on, and he's just being his absolute self, like, fucking, I'm gonna eat a fucking 200 milligram edible right now on your show, and you're just like, and then you see the conversation, you're just dying, and like 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, it makes it amazing, and that's why like I love this podcast game, because like And that's why we do it like
Yo,
the
my
messy
producer
room.
was listening to Nori earlier, and it was like their
Yeah.
newest podcast. He was like, yo, I'm like so live right. He was like, I can't even get I'm so fucked up. And they were like, yo, what did you drink? He was like, I smoked. Y'all know I don't smoke. Y'all know I don't smoke. Like, it was just so genuine. And like, I was setting up the set, and he was listening to it. I'm like, yo, that's like...
Drink champs. Oh,
That's
man,
right,
shout out
because
to
it's
Noriega, I'm telling
relatable. You feel me? It's that like people who are listening in when you're hosting, no matter what format you're on, or even if you have a business, people just want to be able to feel relatable. Like evoke some type of emotion where they're like, yo, I've been through that shit.
Exactly.
You know?
You make your like, if like, let's say like Kanye says something like relatable, you feel like I've been in Kanye's shoes. Like, so he becomes less of a celebrity and like this figure that you can't see to like this guy that's just like, bro, he's like, you know what I mean? He's just a regular dude from Chicago that like had a dream, and that's where you relate. Yeah. That's where you connect to, and it's crazy. And that's why I'm saying like this podcast game is I love it to the end because I feel like my whole life I wasn't good at school, like all this stuff. Like I didn't, not that I wasn't good at school, I didn't care enough to like even like try. So it's kind of like this thing where like I learned a lot of the lessons I learned and a lot of like the big lessons I learned through like conversations and things like that. So when
communication with people.
Exactly. Facts. Like kind of like when like your older brother grabs you, like, puts his arm around you and he's kind of like, bro, you can't do this for this is this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're just like, bro, I finally get it. That's so like in those moments, like those momentous moments in life for me, I felt like I've like truly like it changed my life. I impacted like it impacted me like in a positive way. So that's why I also love the podcast game, because it's like not only can you talk to a cool ass person at a genuine level, but you could also just like you just feel like yourself. You feel cool, like, you know what I mean? And you could learn an amazing lesson. Like that's what I'm saying.
You know what I related to? Like
beautiful.
How people read books or like get knowledge from books. Like we educate ourselves in school through books. I always felt that way with like talking to people. Like even when I was young, if like older people like would have a conversation with me and they would be like ranting and raving, like a young kid, like maybe they would get bored and like not listen. I was always that one like tuning in because I found it intriguing, like listening to the story. How did you get to where you were? Like how are you in this position? Like even if it's a teacher, even if it was like a random like associate, like I just feel like that we take for granted form of communication and how much that can teach us about ourselves. Like listening to other people's struggle helped me to get over obstacles when I faced that, like certain shit like that. It teaches you about you and them.
Mm-hmm. I think you said it in a beautiful way. Like that's literally what it is. Like it's just like those kids that like, like your uncle's talking and he's kind of like, oh, back in my day, he's hitting you with those stories. And then you kind of just like those kids that were like, oh, stop already. Like, oh, Theo, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking cut it out. Like, bro, I literally think those kids were like dumb. Cause like, it's like, bro, what do you mean? This dude's giving you the gems. Knowledge. He's trying to bless you with like knowledge. Like, it's just like, I'd be like, bro, like, so like that's me the same way. Like my uncle, like all my uncles and stuff, they always have stories. Yeah. So it was kind of like, I've always listened to these dudes' stories, and it was kind of like, again, going back to like comedians and things like that. Yeah. I love the idea of like people watching you, like, and you're just like standing around, like people are like sitting watching you talk, and you get a reaction out of them, whether it be laughing, crying, whatever the fuck it is.
Facts.
And I think that's like the most beautiful thing, because like if like same way with music, if like it hits you, or like the point where you're laughing or you're crying or you give out an emotion, the person that did their fucking job, like, and they killed it. You know what I mean? So
I was listening to this motivational like YouTube video the other day, and it was talking about the strongest thing, no matter if you like own like a business, like you're selling clothes or like whatever you're doing, like you can apply it to anything. But the key to like selling or getting people to want it is like you make them want it through evoking an emotion, through evoking some type of experience that they've already had. You feel what? You punching my mic?
Yeah, my fault.
You punching my mic during my motivational speech? What the fuck?
Sorry.
What do you think? This is the good grass show? You can just fuck around all you want? Sorry. Anyways, I've never yelled at a guest on my show, so I think that was my first. I just yelled at you.
No, you're cool. You're cool. I was really like, oh man, that was amazing.
You know why? Because I had shout out Frankie always. We had Frankie always on
Frank.
before this, and Frankie kept elbowing the mic, and I want to be like, yo, Frankie, if you elbow that goddamn mic, so I just took it out on you. My bad.
Nah, you're cool. You're cool. Nah, I was like, oh man, I agree. And then I fucking hit the thing, and I was like, oh no, stop moving, stop.
No, but I feel like you get it though. It's just that getting people to be genuine and authentically themselves through any conversation, because you can do it through the Messy Room podcast. I can do it through Old Soul Young World.
Yep.
You can do it through Good Grass. It's just through different types of conversation, but you can always evoke that like emotion.
Yeah.
And just wondering, because we did shout out Montell Williams, but you've also recently had a interview with Millyz that I was
Millyz,
like,
yeah.
what the fuck? But I do know Millyz is around the area, and I know he is he's a cannabis advocate.
Yeah, he's a Cambridge boy for life.
Yeah. So what was good with that?
So it was kind of like Millyz came for the Cambridge.
Shout out Millyz.
Shout out to Millyz, bro. That's my guy, bro. But he came out. He came to the opening to our Cambridge location, and he was just mad cool. Like honestly, like you know how like you hear like these stories of some celebrity just being like crazy, and they're like, "Oh, fuck off! Like, don't fucking talk
like
to me."
Like a big head type.
Yeah,
shit.
like Millyz really came in, and I dapped him up. I was like, "Yo, bro, like, you know, big fan. Like, love the, you know, love Blanco 5, all this shit, talking about like, oh, I love that collab you did with Cousin Stiz." And he was like genuinely like engaging with me. He wasn't just brushing me off. He was cool. And then I just kind of was like, "Yo, can I get like a 5-minute like interview with you, or you just ask stupid questions and just?"
So it was like on the spot, like that wasn't like planned, scheduled.
Yeah,
interview.
yeah, it wasn't
like,
planned. No, he was literally leaving. He was leaving. So you know,
shit.
you been to Cambridge? You know Graffiti Alley?
Yeah.
So we were walking down, and then he was just like, I was like, "Yo, Millyz, can I get you for 5 minutes? I just gotta ask like," I was like, I just gotta ask like, you know, some industry questions, just like we call it high end questions, right? Where you just ask like,
I have that in my notes. I love that shit.
Thank you.
Love that. That's so catchy. High end questions.
Yeah, because you're high.
You know, high.
Yeah. So it was kind of like
class.
He was like, all right, man. And then we just did it, and it was just so cool, and he's just so real, like. And the questions I literally just like, because I listened to
it was like on the spot type shit.
Yeah, and so I wrote them down before I started. Like he was just like talking to people and like engaging with people, but then I just wrote down what came to my head because I follow him and stuff. And then we just had a great time like in the alley, just like, and it was cool. Like he's
How
literally
long
cool
was
as hell.
that? A couple minutes, or was that like?
I had him maybe 5 minutes. I probably asked him like, "Oh, what do you feel about the Western?"
Yeah.
And then I asked him, I asked him like, "Oh, what the fuck did I ask him?" I asked him something about like, if you can't talk to, if your parents always tell you can't talk to strangers, how do you make friends? And he was like,
what?
He was like, bro, he's like that question's up there. Well, what the fuck's the meaning of life? And then it was just such a genuine laugh. Like we were just cracking up and shit. But yeah, he's definitely like, that's really how it came about. He just came to the store and I just asked him. He's cool as hell.
And it's dope too, because I feel like, I don't know, well, maybe you can tell me, like, Vic 5 years ago, would you have been confident enough? Would you have been, like, mentally in the state enough to be able to, like, on the spot, ask Millyz to do an interview and come up with questions right there?
I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to, like 5 years ago, what was I like? I would have probably gone up to him, but 5 years ago, I was so, like, in the corporate life and so, like, in a suit, so I probably would just dap him up, like, "Oh, man, love your music," but I would have never thought of, like, asking him a question or like even like thinking of like interviewing him or like, because again at that time like I literally didn't think it was possible to just even like casually talk to people like that.
Yeah.
Like even getting a high five would have been like a highlight for me. Like but now like I feel like, oh man, I just literally had a casual convo with Millyz, bro, and he signed a Jadakiss and Snoop Dogg, you know, put him on his Instagram and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's just like cool. Like I feel like I'm in a cool club or something.
So you are in a cool club actually. You know, the Vic Cool Club. Hopefully I can be in the Vic Cool Club one day.
You're always welcome.
Maybe I'll be on the Messy Room podcast.
Oh God, I literally told Jason, I was like, we gotta have her on.
I'll wear my mismatched socks that day. I won't wear my heels, don't worry.
I'm telling you. Oh, you're always welcome. Always welcome. We're just chilling on the couch and we're just having fun and we're just talking and we're just talking about life and it'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. Definitely be awesome.
Dope. But it's cool too to do things like just to go off what you did with Millyz, like in the moment like that, because sometimes that becomes the most genuine of it all. You know what I mean? And not psyching yourself out, just letting things flow, letting it happen, and having that like confidence to anyone listening who's trying to start their own podcast. If I only started my podcast a year ago with no prior experience, and here we are now, and Vic started his podcast in his messy room, then got hired at a dispensary as a social media podcast manager pretty much, and then is now, interviewing like that. Like, if we can do it, Vic, do you feel like anyone can do it?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's like probably like the biggest thing that's like my morals. Like that's like why I live life. I literally just want everyone to be their true, genuine selves. Like, just live like the life that you want to live. Don't think, oh, I have to be a doctor because my parents were doctors. Don't think like, oh, I can never be a comedian because I live in a community, like, you know, in a community where like everyone, like no one's ever made it. Like don't think like that. Literally think like, yo, I have this dream. How the fuck am I gonna get there? Like, what steps do I gotta take to just be the greatest thing for me? You know what I mean? Like, just be the greatest.
And that can be in whatever, like, stay in your lane. You feel me? Like, do whatever it is that you love type shit.
Exactly. I'll never, like, I always tell my boys, like, I'll never be like, nah, don't do this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, like, I'll literally be like, all right, like, I'll tell you what I think. All right, this is what I think. But, bro, you do whatever you want to do. And as long as you're happy, bro, I'm happy and we're all blessed. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And that's how I think. And that's just the goal for, like, the Messy Room, Good Grass Show, just true, genuine conversations about whatever. You know, obviously, Good Grass Show, I got to talk about weed and things like that. So, boom, like, there's, like, a niche.
Yeah.
So, boom, whatever. We fill the what is it, the obligation, or, like, we get it, we just get it, you know, we get it.
Like you stay on the topic, but you can veer off of it also.
Exactly, but we're still being our true, genuine selves. Whereas the Messy Room, we're literally in a messy room, and we're just chilling, having fun, just being our true, genuine selves, having great conversations, and just learning and growing, and just like, all right, have you ever done a podcast where like you'd be like, all right, like at the end you're just like, you sit there and you're kind of like, that was fucking awesome. You feel like almost like you're high.
Yes.
Like that's
like literally a life high. Like you're like, oh my gosh, like I just did that.
Exactly.
Like,
that's kind of like what I want every aspect of my life to be.
Facts.
Just true, genuine love like that at all times. That's that feeling where you're just like, damn, that shit was crazy. I want to just be like at Market Basket or something and be like, that was insane, bro.
Facts,
like, wow, that we're just blessed.
Like, wow, yo, I just got the best groceries. Oh my God.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just like that life high because, and I think, you know, that's the thing. It's like once you start living genuinely for things that you want to do, that you care about, when you stop listening to other people, when you stop letting other people's like, perspectives or influences influence you, you know what I mean? That's when you can find what you really love. And it's just like, you got to take that risk though. You got to take that chance. Like, and I just want to keep going back to the beginning of your story. Like, you took a fucking risk. You took a chance. You were in a corporate job, you jumped ship and you did something completely different on a whole different path. And that shit is coming to fruition now. And you feel better just as Vic. You know what I'm saying? Which is most important.
Exactly. And like like you said, jumping ship is not easy because like again, people around you are still gonna think the same. They're still gonna think like in this way. So like you're gonna like have these interactions. Like I was talking to Jason, right, my our co-host at the Messy Room, and I was telling him like, bro, like I was frustrated because I felt like I was doing what I had to do. Like I was doing this good grass stuff. I was doing everything I needed. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning every day. I'm learning this media stuff. I'm chasing the dream, living the dream every day. But like you still have conversations with people where they're kind of like talking to you like I said, oh, they're talking to me like from a crackhead or something. Like that's what I was thinking. They're questioning me like, bro, what are you doing with your life? Like, bro, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. And it's kind of like you gotta like, and these are people that are close to you, and you kind of gotta like, just be like, bro, like I'm just living my life. Like I'm doing what I gotta do. Like you don't understand. I'm happy. Like this and that. Like
how do you like just for anyone listening in as like, you know, a young man, like you say you're Puerto Rican, right? Okay, so, you know, a Hispanic young man, like with the stress, the influences, all that shit, like how do you actually put it aside to just be who the fuck you are? I mean, do you have any advice?
I just think so. Like, I feel like the greatest moments I've ever had was when I was just being myself. Like, for example, like, when I turned 21, we went to Icon Club and I was just having fun dancing around and I didn't care what anyone thought. So it was like, oh man, I was being myself in that memory. Or like, I don't know, like where we're just like in the car and we're making fun of each other. Like, you know, my boy Marvin's making fun of me. I'm making fun of Marvin. You know, I'm making fun of Anthony, all this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, we were just being ourselves. Like, so I just feel like no matter like how much like, oh, life can get you, or like life can be stressful, or like, you know, whatever, like, oh, your finances could be like, oh, running low, or whatever the fuck it is. As long as I feel like I'm my true self, I feel like everything will be okay. Like everything will come together. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel. Like
100%.
Yeah, and it's just
completely agree.
Yeah, and then you know, the way I deal with like stress and things like that is I podcast. I just do what I love.
Yeah.
Play softball on the weekends and hurt my knee. Like
shout out to softball team.
Yeah, we're 0-3, chill. But that's what I mean.
Like outlets besides like, you know, the typical shit.
Exactly. Like, you know, sometimes you just get lost in life where like you just have to do things. Like, you know, you have to pay rent and you have to I don't know, like look out for this and you have to do this. So like just having like just doing things you love and just doing being yourself while you do it is just the way you live, the way it's just a blessing. You know what I mean? That's how I always just go back when I feel like I'm struggling or I feel like I'm anxious or whatever. I just be like, Vic, you're you, man. Like, just, you're cool, bro.
And that's the hardest thing sometimes, and it's crazy because we live in a world, you know, where it's very social media based, and like being involved in social media, it's like when you're on there, right? Yeah, you can get sucked in. You can like compare yourself to other people, but honestly, once you start realizing the best person you can ever just be and embrace is genuinely who you are, that's what gains love. That's what gains traction. That's what gains when you are actually putting your real personality out there. Like, yo, when you put that video out, like I said about Montell Williams, and it was like awkward as fuck, like that shit was so funny. It was so funny. And like a lot of the ways that you cut up Good Grass shows and the clips, like it's very content driven, very funny, very like educational or just cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and actually I want to shout out a video you put up, I think it was yesterday, it was like a floating eighth, like you were doing some like weird stuff and like this eighth was like floating there. You're like, have you ever seen an eighth float? Maybe you're too high or maybe blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know, it was so funny. But you had your Red Sox hat on, and then later last night you sent me this funny ass video, which actually I'm gonna make my producer put right here while we talk about it. But yo, I think you won some sneakers at the fucking Red Sox game last night. I'd never seen nobody win New Balance sneakers at the Red Sox. This dude's on a Jumbotron. I don't know. Like, what the fuck happened, Vic?
When I tell you, like, winning the dance-off was probably one of, like, the greatest things I've ever done, because, like, I love Fenway Park. Like, I love baseball. I love Fenway Park. Like, you guys don't understand.
He's a fanatic.
Like, when I tell you, like, I might just damn near, like if I ever get married, like, I might go on a knee in Fenway Park. Like I'm telling you, like, so it's kind of like
just spit my champagne out.
So it's kind of like this, so I love Fenway. So like since I've been going to Fenway, like as a fan, I've always wanted to get on the Jumbotron, and I never get on. So it was kind of like,
did life go last night?
But no, not last night. That was like a while ago.
Oh, you tricked me. I thought that shit was last night.
No, I was sending that to you just for laughs.
Oh,
like,
I thought you were at the game. I was like, yo, this dude, he's coming out tomorrow. We gonna talk about this. It's gonna be a fresh ass story.
That was opening day. I just sent it to you because I was like, yo, I think she'll laugh at this. Like, it would be cool. Like, some like inside stuff. But yeah. It was kind of like, all right. So we kind of just, that was in April. So then last year, I finally got in the Jumbotron.
Hey.
And I'm doing the dance off. And I think I'm gonna win. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna win the fucking dance off. And then all of a sudden, bro, some dude in a fucking a crutch. He chugs a beer.
What?
He starts flinging his crutch in the air.
What?
And I fucking lose. I was like, bro.
Oh, yo, he swooped that up.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was like, man, like this will never happen. So then when we went to the opening day, like, and I won. Like it was like when Ali came back. Like it was like the greatest thing ever.
Like some genuine excitement. Like you should, yo, I can't wait to show this video. When you see Vic's face when he realizes he won the sneakers, like it changes. It's like happy, and then it goes like extreme. Like I thought you was gonna cry. I was like, damn, you won those New Balance sneakers.
I literally might have, like, honestly, like, but it's literally, it was just the funnest time.
Did they really give you the sneakers?
So I have until December 22nd to get these cool shoes, these New Balances,
got you.
I kind of been waiting for like a cool drop of New Balance or something, but like, I'm gonna get the free shoes soon. Like,
I feel that.
But yeah, it was definitely
You gonna get them free shoes, don't worry.
So it was definitely one of the my highlights of my life, because like I said, I love Fenway, and I love being, like, again, we spin it back. I was just being myself, just being goofy on camera, and I wanted like New Balance sneakers. That's what made me
think about it, because you said like you were in the club being your genuine self on your 21st birthday, and I'm like, yo, that video you sent me, like that was literally like Vic just going off, like real ass Vic.
I'll tell you, oh man, yeah.
Oh man, that's
awesome.
funny.
That was fucking awesome.
If for Good Grass and going forward, do y'all have any plans, you or Western Front, or like any big guests coming up, or like is things hush hush you can't say?
Man, all I can say is like I've been behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen the negotiations, I've seen the talks, and oh man, just know, like I'm just like if so, let's say like my heart dropped to my ass when like they said Montell Williams was gonna come on the show. Let's just say like I damn near almost fainted like finding out who was gonna come on the show. So yeah, like I can't say much, like, you know, because it's hush hush all this shit. But like we got some cool people coming on the show. Cool things coming on the show. You know what I mean?
Hey, and I've been wanting to ask you all damn episode, but like, how do you consume your cannabis?
this is like gonna be probably the funniest thing. I don't even smoke weed. Like,
yo, you're a traitor, Vic. Vic's a traitor. Y'all heard it here first. Also, young world, this dude's a liar. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, so what the fuck though? What's good?
I know. It's the kids.
Is Western Front okay with you saying this on air?
Yeah. I've said it. I've said it hundreds of times. So I'm telling you, I might be like delusional.
I thought he came here. I thought this dude was lit as fuck. I'd wait to smoke till after my podcast because my eyes are already small. So if I smoke before the podcast, I look really, really lit. Yeah. So like, I guess you just have smaller eyes because I thought you was lit, and I was like jealous. And then I'm like, yo, what'd you smoke? He's like, I don't smoke.
I don't even smoke. Yeah. So it's like the funniest thing because it's like obviously like I have this like show that I'm doing for the Western, like the Good Grass Show, and we talk about only weed and all these things, and it's like I think it's just. Like at first when they pitched me the idea, that's what I was talking about. I was like, yo, you guys know, like I stopped smoking weed and like I don't really like I love the industry and I love like, cause for like different reasons, like, you know what I mean? Other than consuming it. Like I love it for like, like I said, it's a Black Latino owned business that I'm working for. Yeah. And like,
creating jobs, opportunities,
exactly.
Decriminalization.
85% of like the people that are in jail for cannabis look like me, you know what I mean? Look like my brother, look like, just look like me, like literally. So like, it's kind of like, I'm in it for that. Like I want to change the world. I want to be in that level. Right. So it's kind of like, that's how I resonate with it. But then like, it was funny because when they pitched the idea to me, I was like, but you guys know I don't even smoke weed. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I stopped a while ago. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just like, so they were like, but I think that's what will make it funny. Is you're already this, like, they're already this character is what they were saying. You're already this character and you have this energy. So you kind of like, you'll have like a different aspect of it where like you're asking stoners, like, how do they feel? And you have like a different insight and hopefully I'm doing it well. Like, you know what I mean? Hopefully,
you are.
And like, so hopefully the Good Grass is going well. But like, yeah, I think that's just like one of the, like, you know how like comedians have like a punchline just hits, like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the punchline that hits. Is like, I have a weed show, I work at a dispensary, I know all this stuff about weed, but I don't even smoke weed.
Yo, like, dude didn't even tell me that. This whole time we've had combos about him coming on for weeks and weeks. Didn't even mention it. He was like, I was surprise, really like, bitch.
I was really like, I'm about to hit her with like, as soon as we're about to start, just for the laughs.
What if they start doing like bud tasting and shit? What are you gonna do?
I mean, I would
give it a little taste here and there.
I mean, so like, I'm not like
Vic
against,
like falls out of his seat.
Yeah. I'm not against like, like smoking weed or nothing. I just feel like, I feel like I'm so like elevated already that I just don't need that stuff no more. But I'm not against it. Like if like, let's say like, I don't know, fucking Snoop Dogg was like, here, buddy. I'm gonna be like, you're right, man. Thank you, sir. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, nah, man. Nah, it's been a while. I'm not gonna be delusional. But who knows?
But it gives a great perspective. I like that because it does give the balance. It's like even people who don't smoke could watch the show and relate to you and still get educated. Exactly.
Because we're coming from an aspect where like, all right, I know like I studied cannabis and I've watched endless documentaries and I love this. I love cannabis in a different way, like I said, right? For like the social change and all that stuff, right? So it's kind of like when we like have a at least in terms of me watching as a viewer, right? When I'm watching myself like talk and like I know I don't smoke weed and all that stuff, I could come in a different light and be like, well, like people that like, oh, it's taboo, it's hocus pocus and all this stuff. I could educate them in a different way. Like, bro, you like, you know what I mean? You don't understand, like this and that, like you're an advocate for cannabis consumers without consuming cannabis, which exactly. So is like fire. Yeah. So it's kind of like this two life thing where like I relate to you, like, oh, I understand, like, like, oh, you could get a little anxious when you smoke and all these things, but like I also understand that if you take it in this dose or you do it this way, or like there's different ways of approaching it, like, so I could give you advice on that and like just what I mean, and it's cool, like I think it's cool at least, like just to like be like in that like thing. And like I said, I'm not against it, like I said, like I don't know, I feel like I'm cool and I'm flowing. I'm always like on like spiritual journeys. I'm always trying to just find myself. Like I literally went abstinent for 6 months. Like no drinking, no smoking, no nothing. Like what? Yeah, no drinking, no smoking, no fucking doing the rest. To get your mind right? Yeah, just to challenge myself, just to, so that's what I'm saying. So I'm not against it. I feel like I'm cooling right now. Like I feel like I'm high, living life, like I said earlier.
Hey, we got that.
Fun.
So,
You know, that's super dope too, because like taking that time for yourself where you're like not doing any of those like influences and things, and it's like getting right with your mental and then like taking the next steps that you have to. Like I think a lot of people are like fast paced, always going, over consuming.
Yeah.
We're over consumers in America. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about cannabis. Like I'm talking about food. I'm talking about material. I'm talking
general,
about
yeah.
media,
Information.
anything. And from being on our phones, like we are just consumers all the time. It's good to step back sometimes, reevaluate yourself.
Yeah.
You know, get yourself back in when you want to or don't.
Yeah, exactly. So
Whatever
it's-
it may be.
Exactly. So it's kind of like this thing where like I'm always just trying to be the best version like of myself. Like like I said
Yeah.
earlier, I just always want to be the best. Always
Yeah.
want to live like these greatest moments. Like like you said, taking a step back, just reevaluating myself. Like who the fuck am I? You know what I mean? Who am I today? Oh, I'm Vic Rodriguez. I do this, and this.
Yeah.
How do I feel? I feel blessed. All right, let's keep going. Like,
Hey.
you know what I mean? That's just the thing. It's just ever evolving, with learning and
Yes.
growing. Like I feel like me and Jason, like on the messing room, we have this joke where we'd be like, bro, if you're not talking to yourself, you're kind of weird.
You're
Like,
crazy if you ain't talking to yourself.
And like that's literally what that means. Like if you're not reevaluating like who you are as a person, thinking about like, oh, like why did I like? Because sometimes you just react. So sometimes we're emotional and we react to things. And we're like, why? If you're not asking yourself, why the fuck did I react that way, or like why didn't I react more or whatever?
Yeah.
Like you got to ask yourself those questions. And when you're asking yourself those questions, you find like a true greater version of yourself. You know what I mean? On the other side, you're just gonna be like, oh man, like that was crazy. But I feel like if you're not thinking about that, you might like I said, your wheels are just gonna be spinning, but you're not gonna be going nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you're just gonna be stuck like on the same mental, same shit. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like.
That's a great metaphor too. It's like the car's working, the tires are moving, but it's not actually moving forward.
Yeah.
Like you're trying it, but it's still stuck.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of us can relate in that aspect of like getting content with our lives. You know, how you felt when you were at the bank, how I felt when I was at Macy's, before we both started our podcast, like before we're fulfilling that second purpose of our lives and being reborn. It's like, before all that, we're just pretty much stagnant. We're just like living a life and getting through the phases, getting through the steps financially, but not feeling that high, not feeling that emotion, not evoking something that's like spreading a ripple effect to other people to want to do something better with themselves. And it's like, from at least what I see from you now, and where you're at now, Vic, like you is doing that. You are doing that. And I think you're going to continue doing that, not only for the cannabis industry, but just for Messy Room and anything else in between.
Yeah. I'm literally trying to be like I know like this is like I'm literally trying to be the greatest podcaster ever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yo, don't take my spot, bro, because I'm already there. All right, we gonna have a podcast fight up in this bitch. All right.
No, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just trying to like learn from everyone. Like your interview
No, I
style.
feel that, I
the
feel
way you're
that.
interviewing is cool as hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably gonna watch this back and study your questions and study how you engaged and
Don't
things
make
like
me
that. Nah, you know what I mean? So like, that's what I'm saying. I'm literally a student of this game, and I just
Yeah.
love it so much. And I'm just like, when I say I'm trying to be the best, like I'm trying to be the best podcaster for myself. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I want every question to hit, every question to smack. I want to just like be that guy. Like, oh man, Vic, bro, that was a crazy question. Like, you know what I mean? You know when like you gotta give yourself props. You're just like for example, let's say like you're playing softball or something. You like I don't know.
He's
You-
thinking about his fucking softball
Yeah,
game tomorrow.
sorry.
This dude has a softball game. He can't stop thinking about it.
You hit a double, right? Let's say you hit a double, right? You're just standing at second base like, oh, I'm the man. Like that's how I want to feel. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So like when I do podcasting and things like that, like, oh man, Vic, that was a crazy question.
Yeah.
Like shit like that. So that's just the
Well, it's
goal
what you
of
said
life.
though. We're students of life. Like
Exactly.
we're literally always learning, because I do the same shit. I be watching Joe Rogan's podcast. I be watching your podcast. I be watching all these others, and I'm like, okay, like it's just literally learning, evolving, but keeping that genuine you, always being you, no matter what you bring to the table. Make sure it's genuine. Make sure it's authentic. Make sure it's real, because that's what people love. That's what they're attracted to, and that's the words that we need to get out there, because there's so much fake shit going around on social media, on the
Yes.
internet. Fake podcasters, fake music, fake this, fake that. People just talking shit to get likes, views, etc. It's not what we're about. It's not what we need. We need some genuine, real shit.
That's what I'm saying. And it's kind of like as a consumer, as a viewer, like anything, I'm telling you, you know, you can smell the bullshit. Like
Facts.
if someone's not trying hard, or if someone's not like,
Or if they're trying
doing-
too hard.
Oh, that
you
too.
know?
Yeah, exactly. You could just smell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're trying too hard or not trying hard enough, like people like as a consumer, as a viewer, you're looking at it and you're kind of like, this might be some
it's
trash.
Like forced a little bit.
Exactly. That's why, like, for example, like Star Wars is such like this epic idea, right? Because why? Because George Lucas literally put his whole life into this story of telling like, in a land far, far away, like in a galaxy far, far away. So it's kind of like, that's what I'm saying. Like he worked his ass off and he tried super hard to give like this super crazy story. And that's what I'm saying. Like, but we don't smell the bullshit in Star Wars because he's not making it for money. He's not doing it for this. He was doing it for the love of the story, the love of the love of the game, love to make movies. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like people will just like, when stuff is bullshit. When stuff is like 6ix9ine, for example. Why is he not around? Why is he not making music? Because he was hopping on trends, right? He was kind of just provoking people just to get like views and things on Instagram. But like what J. Cole said in 1985, like now you're probably gonna be on fucking Love and Hip Hop, like doing some weird shit, trying to get a check. Why? Because you're trying to stay relevant when you weren't your true self. Like, bro, like that's what I mean. Like I don't want to call out 6ix9ine. Like I don't know.
No, but I get what you're saying because like trending is temporary and like being authentic is forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are you choosing to put out there to the people? What are you choosing to let people consume from you? You know what I'm saying? So everything that like you're putting out that I see on both of your medias, like that shit is dope. It's actually educational and it's like bringing forward a prospect of like trailblazing. Like you're creating your own path. You're creating Vic Rodriguez. You're creating a brand off yourself. You know what I'm saying? Which is dope and inspiring. So I just want to shout you out for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, like, so I always just think, like, I have a little brother, right? And I always just think, like, bro, how am I gonna, like, I want to be, like, a cool older brother, like, that my little brother looks up to, like, oh, man, like.
That's how I feel about my nieces. I'm the youngest, but I have nieces, and I'm like, damn, they're gonna look up to me one day and, like, see what auntie's doing. Like, what do I have to show you?
Exactly. So it's kind of like I want to show my brother that like you could, like if you want the world, you could have it, like, you know what I mean? And not in like a selfish way where like, oh, like I want the world for like the millions and billions. No, you just like, because you have this dream, because you have this idea that, oh, I want to be this, does it like, and all because no one around you has ever done it, you could get there, like, you know what I mean? So I always just tell him like, yo, bro, like just be yourself. Like he's like, oh, I want to play baseball, but I kind of want to like do drama club. Bro, do both.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, who says you have to be in one or the other? Like, just be your true self. Just be like, bro, whatever you're interested in or whatever you like, just see where it goes. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I loved podcasts. I loved movies. I loved creativity, music. You know what I mean? I loved how people got into that creative mind and they create amazing, like, projects like Good Kid, Mad City. Yeah. It's like, when I first heard Good Kid, Mad City, it was like, whoa.
What is this?
Yeah, like
something my ears have never heard before.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like, that's what I'm saying. So I always love this creative space, being a creator, being just like this person. So like now that I'm in it and I do it all the time, like it's fucking awesome, like, bro. That's what I mean.
Like there's no way to go back.
There's no way going back now.
You can't go back.
I would never put on a suit again. Yeah, I would never put a suit again and start using Microsoft Excel. Like, no, we're not going back.
Unless you editing a podcast or making some graphics for the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Obviously. Yeah. I would use like the PC for like shit like that, but I wouldn't. I would never fucking. I never just see myself being in a suit unless I'm like getting married, like shit like that, like. Oh my God.
I feel that 100%.
Like, it's crazy how the mind works. Because when I was like 19, 18 years old, when I was working at the bank or whatever, it was kind of like, oh man, I'm in the beginning, I'm fresh, I'm doing what I want to do. But then your true self will always come out. And then that's why you find me just screaming in Milk Street and fucking being
Like, you can try to settle as much as you want, but if you're somebody who has that creative spirit naturally, it's always going to shine through. No matter how much you try to push it off, no matter how much you try to put it aside and be like, no, I'm going to try to go with the grain. I'm going to go with the grain. I'm going to be a sheep. I'm going to be a sheep. No, it's not going to let you. It's always going to come out. You're going to be that wolf. It's just going to happen no matter what.
Exactly. And it's also a thing where, like, if you're, like, following the crowd or, like, just always, like, listening to what like your parents say or like your older brother or whoever the fuck is influencing you to do what you do, like, and you're always just listening to them because you're like, oh, you know what, they might be right, like I should have a stable job and all this stuff and I shouldn't take risks, like whatever the fuck it may be. It's kind of like you'll grow to like resent like your parents or like you'll grow to resent like your older brother or something because you know that's not who you truly are. So then it's something within you is always gonna tell you, bro, you're being a fake person to yourself.
Facts.
So you're kind of just like, oh.
But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to change that mentality and realize you can do whatever you want, no matter what anybody says to you, no matter what anybody is putting on your plate. Like, you have your own goals, you're your own person. At the end of the day, when our bodies pass away, when we're not here any longer, like, do we leave together? No, like, we die individually, you feel me? So it's like your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, like, we're born into a family, and then like we find families too, because people can't force things upon you. You have to live your own life, which is it's
what I always say is, like, doesn't matter, like you said, you only live one life and it's yours. So why not do whatever the fuck you want to do and be who you want to be? Like that's how I try to put it, like, so, like, in simple terms, like 1 + 1 = 2, right? So if you're happy and you're being yourself, then you're coolin', right? That's how I think. Like,
100%.
And it's just like, yeah, please, everyone just be yourself. Just that's like,
and that's what we've done. We've been our fucking genuine selves, and look at us. We both have podcasts. We both have shows. Now we're here talking to each other on an interview casually about our successes and our struggles. And it's like, I didn't know you 5 years ago. You didn't know me 5 years ago, but we were completely different people. If we met back then, maybe we wouldn't have been able to have this.
I would have tried to put you on the stock market, like.
And I'd be over here probably mad, depressed, like, can you help me do something artistic? But it's like, once you take responsibility for that passion within you, and you embrace that, and you learn that it's okay to be different, it's okay to do that shit, then you can just be you, and that's the best. So one more question for you, Vic, before we sign off here. Ask all my guests who come on the show. What does it mean to you, Vic Rodriguez, from wherever you started, wherever you've been, where you at now, everything you've gone through? What does it mean to you to be an old soul in a young world? Honestly, or just an old soul at all? I
honestly feel like amazing. Like I said, like we talked about my journey, and we just talked about, like, how, like you said, the conversation started with me just being wild and, like, screaming at myself to, like, just, doing the podcast and doing all these things. So, like, I feel like it's just, like, it's a blessing because I'm just on this journey and I'm doing cool things now. And like, because if I wasn't doing the podcast and all these things, I would never even have met you. You would have never come up to me. So now being on Old Soul Young World is just a true blessing. And, like, it's been fucking fun. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's just aligned with the greater story is how I feel. Yes. When you have an old soul, when you have, like, a deeper passion, because that's what I relate to an old soul to, like, having something deeper, just something you can't explain, something that's not physical. It's just that burning sensation inside you that makes you want to quit your fucking job where you're wearing a suit and go do something off the grid, because that will fulfill you in the end, no matter what. So it's like, whatever, if you're an old soul, you're a young soul, any type of soul in between, y'all can do it too. Make sure you know that. And Vic, can you let people know where they can check you on social medias? Yeah. The Good Grass Show, the Messy Podcast, all that, Messy Room Podcast, everything. So my personal is Vic.Rodriguez11. The Messy Room Podcast is literally Messy Room Podcast. Hey. And then the Good Grass Show is Good Grass Show. So ladies and gentlemen, follow, like, subscribe, please. We're killing the game. We're trying to kill the game, you know what I mean? And we work super hard, and we're just trying to be cool people like Jesse, I'm telling you. And y'all can see from today that Vic is a genuine, authentic, real-ass person who's just trying to follow his dreams, make his life better, make everyone else's life better, get involved in industries that are coming up right now, like podcasting, cannabis, doing something that's different, a blueprint that has not been set before. That's what Vic is doing without experience. If I'm doing it, if Vic's doing it, y'all can do it too. There's no excuses, there's no doubt. There should not be self-doubt from anyone outside or internal. Push that aside. Do it today. Stop telling yourself no and start saying yes. You guys, make sure you check out Vic Rodriguez on all social medias. Check out the Messy Room Podcast. Check out Western Front. Check out the Good Grass Show. All that. And tune in with me, your host, Jesse Ellie, next week on Old Soul in a Young World.